Now, everybody is blaming Marouane Fellaini for that ridiculous tackle against Everton, which gave them the penalty, 1-1, another 1-0 lead thrown away. But I think something has to be said about Jose Mourinho as well. Now, this is not a defence of a player who I personally don't like. I think Fellaini was a panic buy by David Moyes. Could have signed Fabregas, didn't get him. Could have signed Fellaini for cheaper, but we waited until his release clause was done, and then we signed him on deadline day. For me, he's a relic of the David Moyes era. I'm looking forward to the point where he leaves the club. I think he's okay at certain points, but we've just got much better players in the squad. But the reason I'm doing this video is not in defence of Fellaini, but I think that Man United's problems need to be discussed and addressed, and that has to fall at the feet of Jose Mourinho as well as the feet of Fellaini. Now, first things first, let's start on why Fellaini was at fault, and I think that it's pretty obvious why he's at fault. He stuck his leg out with a ridiculous challenge, gave away a penalty, and his head was hung low, and he had let his teammates down, he had let Mourinho down. Mourinho put him on the pitch because he thought that Everton were going to be more direct. They're going to start hitting long balls up to Lukaku, and the added height of Fellaini made sense on paper in that respect. And if Man United got a corner or a free kick, Fellaini could go up and then be an added threat in attack as well. So on paper, there was logic behind Mourinho's reason to bring him on. But Fellaini let everybody down with what was a ridiculous challenge, and for a player who was making his 100th appearance for the club, he let himself down as well. Someone who's supposed to be experienced and calm and coming on. I've never considered Fellaini a calm player. I've always seen him on the edge, and the fact that Leon Osman said he wasn't surprised by the tackle, a former Everton teammate, that really says it all about Fellaini and why it made that decision to bring him on quite strange. But I think more importantly than that, I think a bigger, wider issue at Man United right now needs to be addressed, because this is the first time that Fellaini has done that in the 84th minute. He's going to get vilified for it, and correctly so, but there is a wider issue that I'm seeing at Man United, and a pattern that's repeating itself that shouldn't be repeating itself. Now, that's the third time that we've thrown away a 1-0 lead with a late goal. Stoke at home when Joe Allen scored off a scruffy goal that was. Giroud against Arsenal with their first shot on target. And then we've now got Everton. Now, in all three of those games, Man United were in control for the large majority of the game. But in the last 20 minutes of those games, Man United have taken the foot off the gas, have gone to sit deep, and in sitting deep and disciplined, we've invited pressure onto us. And inviting that pressure onto us, in the pomp of our days when we had Vidic, we had Ferdinand, we had Neville, we had Evra, that was easy to soak up. And that's classic Mourinho. He loved his 1-0 wins at Chelsea, at Inter, at Real Madrid, at Porto. He had warriors in his team. You know, Terry, Carvalho, Samuel, Ramos, Pepe. All these players who Mourinho, over his years as a manager, has had at the heart of his defence. Players that he could rely on to make sure that that game, by any cost, is a 1-0 win. Right now at Man United, we've got Phil Jones and Marcus Rojo. For as good as they have been, it's Phil Jones and Marcus Rojo. You know, had Eric Bailly been in the game against Arsenal, had Eric Bailly been in the game against Everton, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Maybe we would have had a more solid defence. But at the minute, Mourinho is trying to get his Man United players to play in his way. And I don't think they're capable of it. I feel like we're mentally fragile. I know me as a fan going into the last 20 minutes of every game now that we've got a 1-0 lead, I'm nervous. In the exact same respect as Fergie made it a tradition of scoring in Fergie time, it's not luck anymore. And when Man United have done this 3 times this season, it's not luck anymore. Luck has played a big part in Man United's season so far, and we've been very unfortunate to be on the wrong end of a lot of draws. This was not one of them. This was a self-imposed, self-inflicted 1-1 draw. Because our last shot on target was in the 66th minute. You saw Anthony Martial came off for Marcus Rashford. If Man United were going to be sitting deep and then playing on the counter-attack, a more logical substitution may have been to take Ibrahimovic off and put Rashford on for him. So our front three was Martial, Rashford and Mkhitaryan. Dynamic, fast, hit balls over the top to them and let them expose the space behind Everton, because Everton are going to play with a high line because they're pressing for an equaliser. Instead, we brought on Anthony Martial came off for Rashford. I feel it didn't help us in that respect. And it's a little bit strange as well, because Martial was playing really well up and down the left, even defending well. And Rashford's not really used to that. He's not that sort of winger yet. And then we brought on Fellaini, and I think it was for Mkhitaryan he came off for. And that made us sit even deeper, and it invited Everton even further onto us. And lo and behold, they got their penalty. You know, I feel like Man United need to play to their strengths in the final 20 minutes of games. I feel that our strengths right now are not in defending, are not in goal scoring. I've said this quite a few times now. I feel like our strength is in the midfield to attack, where we have possession and we create opportunities. You know, had we just brought on Schweinsteiger instead of Fellaini, and we tried to play a little bit more expansive, we tried to, instead of sitting on the edge of our own box and heading it back to Everton and inviting more pressure straight back onto us, why couldn't we have played a little bit of football, got the ball up to the final third against Everton, and then played with the ball there? Wasted time up there. If you want to waste time, just keep the ball in their half. If we got the ball, they can't score. Simple rules. But instead, we sat deep, and our defence right now is just a little bit leaky. And, you know, it wasn't actually our defence that gave away the penalty, but I wasn't surprised that it happened again. And these repeated mistakes, you know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Mourinho or any player making a mistake in football. But when I'm seeing repeated mistakes that are happening game in, game out, 3 times now this has happened, so that's 6 points Man United have dropped. That would mean we would be level with Spurs on 5th, and then 3 points off 4th, I believe, going into this weekend. Instead, I think we're 9 points off 4th. Wherever we are, we're a long way off where we should be, because the results are not dictating what the performances deserve. But sometimes that's self-inflicted, as I've discussed, and I think as much as Fellaini is at fault for what was a ridiculous tackle in the box, I think Mourinho has to take a little bit of blame in the fact that we are sitting a little bit too deep for the last 20 minutes of games, and instead of trying to kill the game off by scoring a second, we're trying to kill the game off by squeezing the opposition out. And that did work for Mourinho for a long time. He built title success on that, but right now, I'm not sure the players at Man United are capable of doing it. I mean, ultimately, Fellaini let Mourinho down by coming on. He should have done a job for 5 minutes, and he let him down. But Mourinho, at the same time, has to take a little bit of fault because he's seen this Man United team now throw it away 3 times, a 1-0 lead. When is he going to learn that right now, I don't think that our defence is capable of doing that? Maybe he's got more trust in his players. He's going to keep doing it until they get it right. And maybe that's how football managers work. But me as a fan looking at this, I'm seeing mistakes that are repeated. And I feel that they are mistakes that Man United could solve by a little change of tactic. Like we do in the cup games, Europa League and FA Cup, League Cup. We're pumping teams. We're 3-0 up and we're still attacking. And teams can't control it because that's where the strength of Man United is right now. Our strength is not in our back 4. Let me know your comments below. Do you think Mourinho's tactics are a little bit at fault for this Everton one? Maybe the Arsenal, maybe the Stoke one too? Or can it literally be down to Fellaini's reckless challenge? Let me know your comments below, please. Drop a like on the video if you fancy it. And subscribe to United People's TV if you're new. I will see you soon. Take it easy.